Hey guys, welcome to another 52 Frames coffee and critique. I wanted to give you guys a short but sweet coffee and critique. In this one, I'm going to go over last week's photos, week number 46, which was Masculinity. I really enjoyed this album. I feel like everyone really pulled out the stops here at 52 Frames. And also, I think it would be nice to skew the balance a little bit more. Photography in general focuses on the feminine form. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but I did think that in some way it was a bit of girl power to empower the women, to put the men in front of the lens a bit. Some interesting discussion on our group about that. So I'm just going to choose a couple of photos here and give some critique on it. I don't want this to get too long, but this batch of photos I actually got from the choices that were chosen for our 52 Picks album, which was chosen by Marina Shemesh, who behind the scenes does more work than you'll ever know for this project. So thanks, Marina, for being our guest picker this week as well. But before we do that, it's been a while, so bear with me. I just want to thank all of the patrons that have contributed since our last screencast. And that's Joanna, Virginia, Shifra, Dina, Marla, Bracha, Tamar, Joanne, Giedra, Lonnie, Carolyn, Robin, Karen, Fran, Betty, and Ruth. You guys, thank you so much for being patrons of the project and supporting the project. I see two of you are at the t-shirt level, so we're going to send out your t-shirts soon. As always, you can go to our Patreon page to support us. You guys are really taking a stand for the project, and it's a huge deal. I thank you from the bottom of my heart. Support will really springboard us into a new level come 2017. So let's dive in here. Let's see what we can critique, discuss, etc. I really like this one, mostly because you're filling the frame with your subject. You were not afraid to crop in close. Julie Donaldson, really excellent, and it seems like it's has some kind of tone to it, which I also really like. Yeah, this is black and white, and when we bring your saturation back in, you have this purple, bit of a purple gray, which I think adds very interesting take. But yeah, way to fill in the frame, getting close on your subject. Really nice subject here. I think it's really nicely done. A very bold photo. I believe this was Nick Robin. I really like this one as well. I have a slight critique. Well, first of all, now that I'm looking at it, I think it's very hard to get a even lighting on a full body unless you had a huge strip light. You're probably going to have light fall off, at the top or the bottom, depending on where your light is placed. So I perhaps would have added just a little bit of the white up here, and I think to show you the before or after. I just thought the top part of the image here is a little bit, and I'm not changing the lighting at all of your image, just popping out the highlights just to even it out at the top. And my other critique is a bit more detailed, but if you notice, and this is probably because your subject here usually is this part of the leg is less exposed to the sun, you see the skin color is lighter than the rest of the body. And if you go to Flern's YouTube channel, hold on, let me look up what it is exactly. Okay, if you look up on Flern, and I'll link to it below also because it's just a really great tutorial. It's called How to Match Skin Tones in Photoshop. And even if you don't follow it step by step, it's just good to know, to be aware of the different color of skin tones that one has on one subject, and matching it evenly really will make a big difference. So a bit more of a detailed critique, but overall I really love this shot. This also very interesting shot. I think as well, I would just tweak. It seems a little bit dark here, and I don't mind the lighting. I like the oppressive lighting here. This one light source here coming from the bottom. But you see again the light fall off. You see his chest is very well lit. So with this same brush, I'll just bring up some highlights and see. I'm not even touching the shadows. Like I'm leaving your. That's too much there. Let's make a new brush. Lower that a bit. Here. I'm leaving your shadows alone, and then I would maybe lower the chest area a little bit. And to me that looks a bit more even. We'll go to the before and after. So you see I'm able to, you're actually drawn, I think, to the midsection, which may have been your intention, and the face. And I think that's a bit more balanced than what you have here with the light fall off, where his face is quite in the dark. Something to look out for. Again, your main subject of your photo, or rather the point of your photo where the viewer's eye is drawn to first, will usually be the brightest part of your image. So let me see if I can find a good example. Here, this little boy. If you want this little boy to be the main subject of your photo, you'll want him to be more lit than the rest of the photo, which in this case it is. That's why we open this photo and we're immediately drawn to his face. So when you have an imbalanced lighting, here we'll bring up this. I think this is a good example. This is a really nice shot. Also, getting in close, filling your frame with the subject. I like the leading line here created by the gun. But if we see this part of the image is darker, this part of the image is bright. So what we're seeing is we're seeing the hand, which is the brightest part of the image. That essentially, for this conversation, is the main subject, the main part of the photo, because that's where the eye is drawn. That's where what the viewer sees first. And then we're going to see a little bit of this. And then lastly, we're going to see his face, which I think should be, if not the main part, or it should at least be balanced hand in hand, if you will, with the gun and the hand as well. So let me try and make an adjustment. This, by the way, is it's called Adobe Camera Raw, which is a dialog that opens up when you open up any RAW in the photo in the Adobe environment. I use here, this is called Adobe Bridge, which Adobe markets not so much for photography, but more for mixed media types. I find it's a great way to just go through photos. Here you can star the photos and filter them and label them. And when you open it up, you can open up in Camera Raw. You can also open up in Camera Raw from Photoshop and from other Adobe products. And this essentially is Lightroom. It's essentially the same engine. It's just different layout. So all these brushes and things that I'm doing, I find that it's a lot more comfortable to do in Adobe Camera Raw. But for those of you who have Lightroom, you can apply the exact same things that I'm doing. It'll just look slightly different, but I do highly recommend this process. This is what works for me. So if we lighten him up here, let's lift the shadows a bit. Okay. A little bit less on the ear. So now I'm more drawn to his eye. Now what we can do is also lower some of the highlights here of the hand, because it is well more overexposed than the rest of the image. And then maybe we'll just also drop down this top part. So let's just go to a before and after. And now you can see before, after. Before, you're looking at the hand. After, you're looking at the eye. Now, I don't mean to choose the main subject for you. You may have wanted the hand to be the main subject. So, you know, we can bring that back up a bit. But generally, you know, you want your subject's eye, you want the subject's face. That is usually the expression, that's usually the story, that's usually the main subject, the main point, focal point of your photo. And again, on the topic of matching tones, you also see that the skin tone, which for everyone, this is the case, is markedly different here. We see a lot of red skin tones in the face here, and this is more of a yellow skin tone in the hand. Let's see, we'll make another adjustment brush here. And because we're not in Photoshop, I'll add some purples just to make it a bit more red, more towards the red part of the spectrum. I can lower the saturation a bit, and then we can go to his face and drop some of the, that's a bit much. Drop some of the red slightly. So let's look at a before and after. You know, I mean, I'd have to give it a bit more finesse in Photoshop to do it properly, but just a quick, you see here, this is the before, this is the after. Before, after. What we're dealing with here is balance. So we're balancing the light and we're balancing the colors somewhat. And you can see in the before, I see his hand, and in the after, I think this is a much more balanced image. I think that was a good example to bring up. Let's see if we have some others that we can discuss. Also, really nice fill in the frame, nicely lit from the top. You could see the light is on top of the subject, which for accentuating muscles and definition, that's a really nice way to light it. Also, this excellent, really excellent photo. I maybe would have zoomed out a little bit more space on the feet. But that's just a really great photo. Really brings you into the world, which is, I think, one of my favorite aspects of 52 Frames is just seeing stories from around the world each week. Let's just see if I could do a couple more. This one, to me, I see a bit of grit, and not in a good way. The resolution is quite small. See, I'm trying to zoom in to 100%, and it already was 100%. If we look here, we see 1125 by 881, and I see here it was shot with a phone with a 5S back camera. By the way, the back camera much better than the front camera. You're shooting in not quite high noon, but pretty hot sun. So the conditions anyways would be a little bit difficult, although better than using a phone indoors. But I think you cropped it. I think you cropped it too much. It looks like you zoomed in, and we're seeing the quality suffer. We're not seeing any detail on the arm here. It's just kind of a pixelated, blotchy mess, if you will. I really like this. I really like this portrait. Nicely lit. I like this gradient background, which you may see banding here, and that's because of the JPEG, and now you're seeing it on the screencast. But this was really cleverly done. Edge to edge. Really nice intention all around. You guys, these are really, really wonderful. Let's see if I can... Also, great shot. Ordinarily, I would critique, you know, the contrast on this, but I think it's just grit. I think it's perfect the way you have it. Really nice. Okay, let me comment on this one, and then we'll wrap it up. This is a really great studio shot. Very interesting subject. I really like the the preparation that you made for this shot. I think what bothers me is the contrast. I think looking at it, I'm wondering if you should maybe bring the blacks totally black, but then I would critique that we're missing detail. If you bring up too much black, I'm thinking, well, then we're gonna I feel like you're trying to hide this chair and what's going on, but your blacks essentially are a bit too crushed. Let's toggle the clipping warning for the shadows, and what this means is that we're losing detail in the blacks here, and that could mean that it's too dark. So the fix for me over here I would just lower this contrast. Oh, right now you see the whole image. Now it's a bit softer, okay? So you could go ahead, if your intention was to really make it gritty, I would just go on, pop a clarity brush and make it gritty where you want it to be gritty. But the overall image, I think, is much more balanced. And without even lifting the shadows, just by lowering the contrast, we're able to see all this detail that was kind of hiding, just being brought back. And if we do the clipping warning, we see it's less so. And also, this to me seems a bit askew. That looks a little bit better. It seemed a little bit slanted, which there's no lines here, but just to my eye, I don't know, this to me seems a little bit more balanced. It looks like he's sitting a bit more upright. And if you wanted to go a step further, you could just bring up the shadows in some specific parts just to make it a little bit more even. And I think this is an improvement. I'll show you the before and the after. And I think it's important to see the difference here and be able to identify. I see a lot of photos in 52 frames where you just, you kind of amp up the clarity or the contrast because it gives it this grit, right? It gives it this edge. But you're losing a lot of data. This is, I think, a little bit too crunchy. This is what I would describe as crunchy. And this is after that you were just seeing a lot more detail, just laying off the contrast a little bit, and I think it's a much more balanced image. All right, guys, I hope you enjoyed this, and I hope to find the time to do more because I really enjoy doing this. As always, you can go to 52frames.com to join our free 52-week photography challenge project. And until next time, happy shooting.
Hi, my name is Yosef Adest, and I started 52 Frames back in 2011 as a personal passion project of mine for me and my friends to get better at photography through a guided weekly photo challenge. Little did I realize at just how much this would impact thousands of people from all over the world, literally changing the way they perceive their world. I can't count how many letters of gratitude I've received from people in the project, thanking me for all that the project has done for them and for enabling a creative space in their otherwise busy lives. For 2016, I'd like to take this project to the next level. I have spent countless hours and my own money over the last 5 years in making this project something really special, which is why I'm now coming to you for support. I'd like to invite you to become a patron of 52 Frames. In order to keep this project running, from server costs, the emails I send out, the forms we use, it costs me hundreds of dollars every month. But for this year and beyond, I want to do even more. For those of you that know me, know that video is my passion. And I really want to devote more time to creating fun, educational, dynamic video that will help you, the photographer, become better at your craft. Becoming a patron is very simple. All you need to do is pledge any dollar amount each month, and you will have full access to the 52 Frames Patreon page, as well as your personal footing in making this project become something truly special. In addition to that, I have some exciting stretch goals, and that's to hire developers to build a fully functional website to host our rather large albums off of Facebook and introduce great functionality like follow, sort, and filter, not to mention the sponsorships and prizes we can give out with a proper budget. 52 Frames is and always will be free to participate. Please help me in continuing to offer this project to creatives around the world. Thank you so much for being a patron. Whether it's $1 a week, $1 a month, or just helping to spread out this message, I so much appreciate you helping and fulfilling my vision and spreading joy and creativity to the world.